where we were from, is nowhere near as relevant as where we are going. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. This is part number 3 of our 5-part series looking at the mission to the unreached. Send her away. We touched on that story when we looked in Matthew and Mark in our previous study. If you haven't caught that, catch it later. But for now, we're going to understand how Jesus was able to minister to us because our past was not as important as the promise of our future. Before we get started in that study, I do want to remind you, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Take 2 seconds just to click that button below to like the video. It makes it easy for others to find it. With that said, let's go to the word. In Acts chapter 10, there's this story of Peter who has an encounter with God. Now, this is interesting because this is the same Peter who had spent over 3 years walking with the Son of God, which lets us know that even after walking 3.5 years with Jesus himself, Peter still had a lot to learn. So Peter is illustrating to us through his failure, through his faults, how someone's past is nowhere near as significant as somebody's promised future. Because in Acts 10, verse 34 to 35, after Peter has this vision where God shows him what he shows him, and we're going to talk about that in another study here soon, but he opens his mouth and he says, "Of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons, but in every nation he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him." The idea of those things that God does look to, those that fear him, those that work righteousness, and those are the things that's showing us that God is focusing on what we're doing today way more than the mistakes we may have made yesterday. It doesn't mean that those mistakes don't matter. Clearly, the mistakes of the past matter. Otherwise, he would not have given up his only begotten son. What we're trying to do is focus the camera of God's character where it is and not where we think it should or where we thought it was. He's saying that this is what God is looking for. And that's why he doesn't respect or he doesn't bias us just because of what we've done. He's interested in what's going on right now. Even over here in Deuteronomy chapter 10, where it says, "The Lord your God is the God of gods and the Lord of lords, a great God and a mighty and a terrible, which regardeth not persons, nor taketh reward." See, this is cool because I'm glad that God is just and he doesn't do bribes. He does not say, "Well, I'll let you go if your good outweighs your bad." And that's a thought that most people have who have any concept or misconception of what they call grace, which is both faith and their works. That's not the gospel. The gospel teaches us, first off, that look, the God that we are called to give our hearts to, he is not respecting you because of what you've done. He's not biasing you because of what you've done. So if he's not respecting you because of what you've done, he's not biasing you because of what you've done, how could what you have done or what you can do possibly then go into the equation of saving you? If he's not thinking about yesterday, why all of a sudden will what you do today now be what saves you? I hope this is making sense to understand that God is more focused on your tomorrow, not on last Tuesday. And with this in mind, Job paints a picture where because God sees everything, it's much easier for him to be impartial. Job chapter 34, verses 19 to 21. It paints this picture of God's position, again, on how he's able to look at our past, our present, and our future unlike any other. "How much less to him that accepteth not the persons of princes." This is speaking how much less to God. "Who respecteth or accepteth not the persons of princes, nor regardeth the rich more than the poor. For they are the work of his hands. In a moment shall they die, and the people shall be troubled at midnight, and pass away, and the mighty shall be taken away without hand. For his eyes are upon the ways of man, and he seeth all his goings." You ever been in a plane? And you know how when you're in a plane, there's a certain perspective that you have. But then there's another perspective that you have on takeoff, when you're actually in that middle ground where the plane is going up And what used to be the ground at eye level, now it's becoming what you're seeing above, and it gets further and further and further away. But the further away you get, the more you're able to see the breadth, the breadth of your view. It widens. This is why God is able to deal with us in our right now, unlike any other, because from the day you were born to, if Jesus doesn't come, the day that you will go to sleep, that's one story. It's one frame in his eyes, which is to us frame by frame by frame by frame, or day by day by day by day. He sees it all. And that's what allows him to look at us and not focus on one part, because he sees all parts. And if there's any part of our lives that the Lord is trying to get us to invest in the most, it's not the past, but it is right now. It's this moment for the sake of our forever future. So if there's one point where we need to look at our brothers and our sisters and our mission to reach them, it's not their past. And it's not trying to push them into an unknown tomorrow. It is by working in the known present, reaching, ministering, preaching, teaching, forgiving, edifying in the present, so that they can expect and anticipate a forever future with Christ.